In this tutorial we are going to look at the Vlook Up formula. This formula allows us to extract information from tables that have already been created and return values for specific inputs. Simply, what this means is that you can use this formula to look up information from particular rows of data and return values from specific columns. And all this means that you can use one worksheet to interrogate another workbook stored on your computer to return values. In the example today, we will set up a short database of keyboard shortcuts for both Windows and Mac, and then use the VLOOKUP formula to return values for each search. I will use my query worksheet to search for data already stored on my results worksheet shown here. I'm going to work on the results worksheet first. The key to the VLOOKUP formula is creating an array. An array can simply be the range of cells highlighted in a selection on a worksheet, for example. However, it is also possible to name your arrays, and by naming your arrays it makes building formulas with multiple inputs easier to manage, troubleshoot, and ultimately to work. To create an array, you simply highlight the data range you want to include in your array. In this case it will be my keyboard shortcut data. In the cell address section of the formula bar, and here you can see that I have already created my array and named it keyboard. For you to name your array, you simply delete the cell address, usually the start cell in your selection, enter a name for your array and press the return key. Your array is now defined and named. Now, working back on the query worksheet, it is time for us to build the VLOOKUP formula. The VLOOKUP formula works by looking for data we will enter in our B column entries against our keyboard array and then returning valid results into our C column, in this case keyboard shortcuts. The VLOOKUP formula consists of several parts. In the first part of the formula we have to define the lookup value. This is the row of data in the array we want the formula to look for. We then have to name the array Excel has to interrogate, and finally we have to give the column index that we want Excel to return the value for. Here you can see that I have clicked on the Results tab and highlighted the array. You could just type the array name. What is crucial here is that you enter the final part of the data, the column number, whilst staying on the relevant worksheet. If you do not, you can end up creating a circular reference and your formula will not work. In this formula, I enter the value 2, which is the second column after the lookup value in the array. Now that we have created the formula, we see that we get an NA result. This is because we have not entered any valid data and the formula is not returning a result. So if we type in a search term and press enter, we can see that the array returns a valid result from the second column of the row that contains the lookup value of the search. You can keep testing the formula until you get an invalid result, which means that the lookup data is not in the array. We can now repeat the process for the Windows version of the keyboard shortcuts. In this variation of the formula, we have to ensure that the final element is set to the number 3, as this is the column in the array where the relevant Windows commands are listed. If you want to use the VLOOKUP formula to return results from a list such as this that you wish to continually add to, it is essential that you define an array that is much longer than the dataset that you currently have. The VLOOKUP formula will only patrol the defined range of the array and will ignore any data outside this range. I hope you can see from this tutorial that the VLOOKUP formula is another great Excel tool for you to use. So until the next tutorial, thanks for watching.